Well, here's a whole nother area of fun, teaching with wine in your Jimmy Jammies. Hello, students. Right, I'm going to do gender part 2 now. I had to cut it off prematurely because my elder son became rather too excited. You can only imagine what came out of his mouth. Anyway, let's get back to gender. So, chin chin. Better not have too much of that. We were talking about reasons that women appear to be more committed to faith than men. And we got up to Miller and Hoffman. 2 more that we can talk about. Bruce, who talked about middle-class women and New Age religions. So you may remember he looked particularly at absolute yummy mummies who were possibly in glittering careers before being yummy mummies and were perhaps lawyers, working in media, all the glamour, and then they had kids and it's over. Anyway, then they're possibly left at home with the children and no one saying thank you, and all the former glitz and glamour of their life, despite it being replaced by a really cute pooing baby, may start to get to them. And they feel a loss of powerlessness in their lives, that they've lost their sense of being themselves. And therefore, says Bruce, women who are lucky enough to have husbands that earn enough and can leave them at home doing yoga may set up their own yoga troupe, a crystal healing brigade, perhaps a meditation class, all of the above. And this gives them back a sense of power outside the domestic sphere in a yoga class. Now remember, one criticism of that, of course, is that you will remember this, I'm sure, that substantive theorists say none of this New Age malarkey counts as religion because it doesn't have a higher power. So you need to be using, something's happened on my screen, you need to be using a very inclusive definition of what religion means, a social constructionist definition, where virtually anything can count as a religion, to use this information. I think my phone's about to run out, but I'll carry on until it does. Glockenstart, compensation for deprivation. They would argue, you can apply this to social class as well, but they would argue that particularly women are the most likely to be financially deprived. They're less likely to work full-time or work at all. Emotionally deprived, I don't need to explain that one. And also to be more... now there's a word for it, ethical deprivation. That's what they actually call it, ethical deprivation. But what it actually means, if you remember, is that women are more likely to have quite a rigid moral code, and that therefore that looking at me up from my chin is just a horror. Okay, is that better? I had like 4 chins there. That women are more likely to be drawn to religion that also has quite a strict ethical code. So we talked about a lot about this in the education unit, how girls are kind of socialised into being more chaste, not being promiscuous in a way that boys seem to get away with from the off. And so you can argue that girls are more drawn to religions which give them emotional support that maybe they're not getting elsewhere, and also allow them to enforce their better morals. Okay. Me. Right. I'm going to stop there because that is the end of my explanation of why women are more likely to be religious. I'm going to plug my phone in for a moment, and then I'm going to come back to try and explain to you how to write a 20 marker asking if religion, is patriarchal. Does it oppress women? Now, in your emails that I sent you, so this clearly is for my classes, I sent you a essay plan about religion and gender, and I filled it in for you. So it'd be really useful to have that to hand when we go through this. Ta-ta. Cheers.